The Stone Age marks a period of profound significance in human history. It was during this era that our ancestors first developed the capacity for conscious thought. This early form of consciousness, often referred to as pure consciousness, was characterized by an immersive and unmediated experience of the world. Imagine a world untouched by the complexities of modern life. Our ancestors lived in small nomadic groups, their lives intricately intertwined with the rhythms of nature. Their survival depended on a deep understanding of their environment, from the migratory patterns of animals to the subtle changes in the seasons. This intimate connection to nature fostered a sense of unity between humans and the natural world. The boundaries between self and other were fluid, and the divine was not conceived of as a separate entity, but rather as an integral part of the fabric of existence. These early humans lived in a state of pure awareness, their actions guided by instinct and intuition. The transition from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age marked a profound shift in human consciousness. The advent of agriculture around 10,000 years ago led to a more settled way of life and the development of larger, more complex societies. With these changes came a new way of thinking, one that emphasized the individual self and its separation from the natural world. Agriculture required humans to manipulate and control nature in unprecedented ways. They cleared forests, planted crops, and domesticated animals, shaping the environment to meet their needs. This newfound control over nature coincided with the emergence of ego consciousness. Humans began to see themselves as separate from the natural world, as agents who could exert their will upon it. This separation from nature had profound implications for human consciousness. The sense of unity that characterized the Stone Age gave way to a dualistic worldview that separated humans from the rest of creation. During the late Bronze Age, human societies underwent further transformations that reinforced the emerging ego consciousness. The rise of powerful kingdoms, centralized governments, and elaborate social hierarchies led to a more pronounced sense of individuality and social status. Rulers seeking to legitimize their authority often claimed to rule by divine right. They fashioned themselves as intermediaries between the gods and the people, their power ordained by the heavens. This notion of divine authority further solidified the separation between humans and the divine. The concept of a divinely appointed ruler also reinforced the hierarchical structures that characterized these societies. Just as the king stood above his subjects, so too did the gods reign supreme over all of humanity. This hierarchical worldview, with its emphasis on power and obedience, stood in stark contrast to the egalitarian societies of the Stone Age. The Iron Age witnessed the emergence of new religious ideas that reflected the evolving nature of human consciousness. One of the most significant of these was the concept of the Messiah, a savior figure destined to redeem humanity from its suffering. This idea, which found its most enduring expression in the Abrahamic religions, reflected a growing awareness of human fallibility and a yearning for transcendence. The Messiah ideal also highlighted the tension between the individual ego and the desire for spiritual unity. On the one hand, it acknowledged the suffering and limitations of the individual self. On the other hand, it offered the promise of redemption through a divine being who embodied both human and divine qualities. Section 5: The Age of Reason, the Scientific Revolution, and the Rise of Rationalism. The scientific revolution, which began in the 16th century, marked a decisive shift in human thought. The rise of science, with its emphasis on reason, observation, and empirical evidence, challenged traditional ways of understanding the world, including those based on religious dogma. Scientists like Nicholas Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, and Isaac Newton developed new theories about the universe that contradicted long-held religious beliefs. Copernicus's heliocentric model of the solar system, for example, challenged the geocentric view espoused by the Catholic Church. This shift towards a more rational and empirical worldview had a profound impact on human consciousness. It encouraged people to question traditional sources of authority, including religious institutions, and to seek knowledge through observation and experimentation. Section 6: the tension between pure consciousness and ego consciousness, the evolution of human consciousness from the pure awareness of the Stone Age to the ego-driven intellectualism of the modern era, has been marked by a growing tension between these two poles of human experience. On the one hand, our capacity for abstract thought, language, and self-reflection has allowed us to make remarkable advancements in science, technology, and culture. On the other hand, our focus on the individual self has led to a sense of separation from nature, from each other, and from the divine. This separation has contributed to many of the challenges we face today, from environmental degradation to social alienation. It has also led to a devaluation of indigenous cultures, which often retain a closer connection to the natural world and to the wisdom of pure consciousness. Section 7. Indigenous cultures, guardians of ancient wisdom. Indigenous cultures around the world offer a valuable counterpoint to the dominant paradigm of ego consciousness. Often living in close harmony with nature, indigenous peoples have preserved ways of life and ways of knowing that predate the rise of agriculture and the emergence of the modern ego. Their traditions often emphasize the interconnectedness of all things, the importance of community, and the sacredness of the natural world. They recognize that we are not separate from nature, but rather a part of it, and that our actions have consequences for the delicate balance of life on Earth. Section 8. The importance of preserving indigenous cultures. The preservation of indigenous cultures is not merely a matter of cultural heritage, it is a matter of global significance. As we grapple with the challenges of the 21st century climate change, environmental degradation, social inequality, the wisdom and perspectives of indigenous peoples are more important than ever. Their deep understanding of the natural world, their sustainable practices, and their emphasis on community offer valuable lessons for how we might live more harmoniously on this planet. It is essential that we listen to and learn from indigenous peoples who have much to teach us about sustainable living and the interconnectedness of all things. Section 9. Conclusion: balancing progress with preservation. The evolution of human consciousness is an ongoing journey. From the pure awareness of our Stone Age ancestors to the complex intellectualism of the modern era, we have witnessed both the immense potential and the potential pitfalls of our evolving minds. As we move forward, it is essential that we find ways to balance our intellectual prowess with the wisdom of our hearts and the deep interconnectedness of all things. We must learn from the mistakes of the past and embrace a more holistic and sustainable way of being in the world. The preservation of indigenous cultures, with their emphasis on balance, harmony, and respect for nature, is essential to this endeavor. By honoring their traditions, listening to their voices, and learning from their wisdom, we can create a future where both humanity and the planet can thrive.